I'm just waiting till 9.
Yeah. Everyone like party.
Okay. Good morning. I'd like to call the South Sound 911 Board of Directors meeting of August 20th to order. Will the clerk please call the roll?
Board Member Brandstetter. Board Member Bushnell.
Present.
Board Member Casebolt is excused. Board Member Dinson.
Excused, I believe, Councilmember Herrera will be joining us at some point.
Board Member Holm.
Here.
Board Member Hubler.
Excused.
Board Member Holsey. Board Member, alternate lane for Board Member Mello.
Here.
Board Member Rumbaugh. Here. Vice Chair McGilligan.
Here.
And Chair Dorr.
Here. Thank you. Next is public comment. Did we receive any written public comment prior to the meeting?
No public comment has been received.
And has there been anybody that signed up this morning?
None today.
Then we will move on. Next is approval of the agenda. Do we have a motion?
Madam Chair, I move to approve the agenda as presented.
Second.
Moved and seconded to approve the agenda. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Agenda is approved. Next is the consent agenda. Will the clerk please read the consent agenda?
Item number 1, approval of the minutes of the June 18th, 2025 Board of Directors meeting. Item number 2, approval of the minutes of the July 16th, 2025 budget study session. Approval of the minutes, item number 3, approval of the minutes of the August 13th special meeting. Item number 4, motion 2025-26 to authorize payment to CDW for Cisco cybersecurity renewal costs for 2025 in an amount not to exceed $127,000 plus any applicable taxes. Item number 5, motion 2025-27 to authorize payment of the Hexagon computer-aided dispatch annual maintenance in an amount not to exceed $859,000 plus any applicable taxes. Item number 6, motion 2025-28 to authorize payment to Pierce County for radio system services not to exceed $281,150 for 2025. And item number 7, motion 2025-29 to authorize payment to Entrado for maintenance renewal costs for the 911 call handling equipment at the Washington State Patrol Tacoma site for 2025 in an amount not to exceed $68,236 plus any applicable taxes.
Is there any item on the consent agenda a member would like pulled for further discussion?
Madam
Francis?
Chair, I'd like to remove item 6.
Okay. All right, let's go ahead and with board, unless there's a objection, Mike, go ahead and let's go ahead and discuss that at this point, and then we'll do it all together. Go ahead.
With my concern about item 6 merely has to do with just trying to understand the request for action. I understand that this is a reimbursement to Pierce County for radio system services, but it's for 2025, so we're 2/3 of the way through the year, but the alternatives, it says discontinuing the reimbursement may result in the loss of VHF overlay system services. And I'm trying to understand what that means if we've gone 2/3 of the year and it's still there. Is that a possibility that has been raised by Pierce County that for the rest of 2025 they wouldn't provide these services if we didn't approve this?
Interim Director, I will send that over to you. And
We
Clerk,
definitely have
can
not
you
come
please
to
go
that
ahead?
point where we've talked about discontinuation of services at all. I understand this payment has been made consistently over the last number of years, and so this is just a continuation of this at that point. However, if the board decides from policy direction you don't want us to continue that payment, then we would remove it. But I understand this is just a continuing payment that's been made annually for many years now.
Yeah, I seem to recall that is the case, and that that it has been consistently supported as something that promotes interoperability of things to do that. So I just wasn't. I was surprised by the raising the specter that it would that we would use this. And then I guess my other question is the way that this is structured, as it is a 2025 payment that we didn't make in advance, like is this in the discussion that we had about the 2026 budget, is this same expense being budgeted into the 2026 budget as was draft in the draft that was proposed?
Yes, so it is budgeted for 2026 as well, the $200,000. That's for the BH overlay. The reason on the delay for the payment is that we wait for Pierce County to establish their rate structure, and because it's all part of the same contract. So we have radio consoles and consolettes that we pay a radio service fee, user fee, like all the law enforcement and fire districts pay as well. So once we get that rate agreed to, then the contract comes out and we bring it before the board.
So the rate structure, which was particularly includes the $135 an hour for radio service fees, is that
So that's different. That's just if we have radio shop services. So if something wasn't functioning and needed to be reprogrammed on one of the 700 radios, we would bring that to the county radio shop to do that work. That's where that hourly rate would come in. We typically don't use that piece, or very seldom have. So the majority of what we're paying is the user rates of $103.46, I think, per unit, and then the $200,000 every year.
so that the $25,000 that's included in this motion is so far this year
Has been zero. We haven't paid any
zero,
of that.
and we don't expect that there to be the $111 hours that would
Yeah,
fund to go on.
Just because everything has been combined into one agreement, that's why it's before the board.
Okay.
It used to be a separate a separate agreement. And so we, due to the dollar threshold, it never came before the board before, but now they're all combined. All three of the things we pay for radio services are combined in one agreement.
And for 2026, are we expecting there to be this same lag of 6 months or more before we know the rates, before we can actually allocate spending the money?
Yeah, we could work with the county on that and see if we can't get that done
It
earlier. So
seems
once
that
the
we
rate
ought to
goes
be
down,
able to
we'll
do
do
that earlier in a fiscal year.
Sure.
Thank you, Madam Chair.
All right, any further discussion? All right, consent, it's been moved and seconded that we approve the consent agenda as written. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you. All right, next we have the radio system providers update, and
Could I back up just 1 minute? I don't think we had a motion or a second because Michael brought up removing
I apologize.
that from
Okay.
the consent agenda, so we need to have a motion and a second, so.
That's, okay, my bad. Can we have a motion to approve the consent agenda? I apologize.
I move to approve a consent agenda as presented.
Second.
Now can we have a vote? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Consent is approved. All right,
And just to confirm for the record, so item 6 then is included as part of that, or was it removed
Yes.
and needs to be voted separately?
no,
Okay,
it,
Thank you.
All right, so moving on, I believe, it looks like RL, she's been really trying to get out of that chair, so. For the radio system providers update.
Good morning. My name is RL Soley, Pierce County Emergency Management, and I'm providing the radio system owners update for today. The regional steering group met, and we do not have a meeting in August. We'll be meeting again in October. Just a very quick update from Steve Taylor for Tacoma is that they're doing some McNeil Island site reliability improvements. The radio system owners met in July. Interim Executive Director Yamamoto provided a quick update to the board after that meeting. And we are scheduled to meet again both in September and October to continue our discussion. So we were given a ton of information to review, some history, and to validate a lot of where we are so that when we come to the September meeting, we have some really good actionable discussions. So I look forward to our September meeting, and we'll come back at the October meeting with an update.
Any questions for, I forgot, DEM Director, what is the title?
RL,
Okay, thank you so much, appreciate it.
thank you.
And Finance Committee briefing, Sarah, Board Member Rumbaugh.
And so I just want to let everyone know that Janet is going to be coming up to give her briefing as well. But I'm sure you're going to have questions once you hear everything that we talked about at the Finance Committee meeting. So Janet, maybe you should just come up. So there's 3 items that I have, and you can see this all on page 43, but the committee discussed a proposal for data analytics software requested by the Pierce County Police Chiefs Association, and the proposed software is a 3-year agreement with an annual expenditure of approximately $1 million. So that would be $3 million over 3 years. And I'm sure if you want more data, more information on that, Janet can fill us in. Then also we talked about the draft preliminary budget for 2026, and we reviewed options to increase the amount of the proposed 2.5 million offset to the agency allocations. And then we talked about the 4.5 million Pierce County 911 excise tax fund transfer, and the committee received a briefing on the recent tolling agreement with Pierce County. So are there any questions? Because there should be. Go for it.
Board Member Jean.
Thank you, Chair, and thank you, Board Member Rumbaugh. I'm just curious a little bit, if you could expand a little bit on the data analytics software, like what is it exactly? Is this something that all agencies within the county will be able to utilize that data? Like what kind of data is it?
Sure, this was a request that came from the Pierce County Police Chiefs Association, and so they talked about it at the PSCOC, and they have elected not to move forward with that. So it is not included in the 2026 budget.
Got it. So this is just saying that we're not going to do it?
Right.
Okay.
So yeah, so we met at the beginning of the month with the Finance Committee. That's what Councilmember Rumbaugh's briefing on, and so subsequently that has been pulled from the budget.
Thank you.
You bet.
Could you explain to everyone what a tolling agreement is?
Okay, I'm not the right person to do that.
Okay.
I'll defer to our attorneys.
Thank you.
Sure. And a tolling agreement is every case that exists in the United States has an expiration date, and we call that a statute of limitations typically. To illustrate, on the long end, property disputes typically have a 10-year statute of limitations. And so as long as you bring a claim within 10 years, then you're fine. There's other end of the spectrum, which is much shorter statutes of limitations, as short as 2 years for some, but there's a whole range. And so for a case, before the expiration runs out, you either need to file a lawsuit or reach some sort of tolling agreement with the other party just to stop the expiration clock. And that's all we've done here is just stop the expiration clock by agreement of the parties so that we can talk and then bring possible resolutions back to the board.
And can you remind us what the statute of limitations was?
It could be, and I say that in a lawyerly way, it could be 3 years.
Okay. And so this just allows us to work with Pierce County on some type of agreement
That's
moving
right.
forward.
That's
without,
right. Without the clock continuing. to
right,
tick.
without taking them to court.
That's right.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
And that's my report. Thank you.
Any questions for Board Member Rumbaugh? All right, thank you, sir. And Clerk, can you please note that alternate Herrera joined us? All right, and next for PSCOC report, we have Chief Marecki. Good morning, Chief.
Good morning, Madam Chair, members of the board. Just by way of brief introduction, for those that don't know me, I'm Brad Morkey. I'm the police chief of the city of Sumner. And coincidentally, I got appointed to police chief in April of 2012, which is just after the voters approved the creation of what is now South Sound 911. So it's been my privilege and honor to be part of this organization and working a long time with all your key staff. So with that, our PSCOC met on August the 7th. We received our staff briefing, and really the crux of the conversation was the allocation cost offsets through the capital fund and also through the Peregrine data analytics software, and whether or not the law enforcement agencies, users would be able to absorb that cost through cost allocation and the support services. And first of all, the consensus overwhelming was from the user agencies, both law and fire, the cost allocation offset through the Capital Reserve Fund was a very welcomed, equitable cost saving. So that it was presented to us either 2.5, 2.7, or 3 million, and overwhelming support was for the $3 million, which would give some budgetary relief for all the agencies that you represent. As far as the Peregrine, that was presented to us what the cost allocation would be throughout the different law enforcement agency users. And while we feel it's a very good program, it's very needed to bring data analytics through all the different sources, RMS, CAD, flock cameras, to be able to better address crime safety issues in Pierce County. The majority was that most agencies couldn't absorb that cost at this time. So we opted not to move forward with that. And so that was the gist of our meeting. Happy to answer any questions.
Thank you. Any questions for the chief?
Thank you for being here, and it's nice to meet you. What are we missing out by not offering to pay for some of this? What is our community missing if we don't do this?
Well, data is just data unless it can be used in some meaningful way. So you've got a lot of different sources of data. You've got CAD data for when a call was received and by whom and dispatched and all that. And then you've also got our RMS data, which is our records management under the old former Lisa proprietary system, which soon to be Motorola Premier One. And then you've also got a lot of agencies now use flock camera that also collects data sets, but each operate in a silo. And Peregrine data analytics software would be able to combine that information and make it available to Councilmember Bushnell, all the users. And that's why we were seeking the South Sound to kind of implement this and hopefully ideally fund it. But it would be available to all the users to be able to put data together. And, they may be working a crime in Pierce County. They may be working a crime in Tacoma, similar suspects, similar information. But if each is working in a separate silo, it's a way to share that data in a more usable, meaningful way.
Thank you.
Any other questions? All right, thanks, Chief.
Thank you very much.
Interim Executive Director Yamal.
And good morning, members of the board and alternates. I just have a one Heroes Wear Headsets report to talk to you about today. I think most of us might remember on August 6th when at Allen Moore emergency room, there was a shooting, sort of a random shooting. That's the context for this particular Heroes Wear Headsets event. What I sort of remember from that scenario, there was a random person who came to the emergency room. He confronted a another person who had come there, a man and I believe girlfriend, and the man had a problem with his arm, so he was there at the emergency room for what you would expect standard purposes. But the perpetrator came in and for some reason decided that the man who had a hurt arm was staring at him and eventually withdrew a gun, shot him, killed him in the emergency room. And that's when, of course, all kinds of people kicked into gear, and including the folks at South Sound 911. So I'll read just the excerpt here so you can understand the role. On August 6, telecommunicators and dispatchers worked together in what is characterized as a low frequency but high risk situation at Allen Moore Hospital emergency room. Multiple calls were received with pieces of information about an active shooter inside the hospital with multiple victims. Telecommunicators worked to gather information while dispatchers shared the details and coordinated the large-scale response that included multiple law enforcement agencies. I'll read the names of the folks because there were many at South Sound 911 involved, as you can imagine. Taryn Rendell, Kaylee Thomas, Trayvon Hoff, Austin DeWeese. Those were the telecommunicators. And then the law enforcement dispatchers were Emily Schramm, Maddie Rounds, Devin Smith, and Chris Woodrow. If you can imagine when one of these scenarios happens, and frankly, they're all too common in the modern era, mass panic occurs and tons of communications occur. And it's necessary for law enforcement to respond and sort through all of that. But it's because we have high quality professionals who can exhibit grace under pressure, who can deal with that massive volume and influx in calls, that we get an effective law enforcement response. And so law enforcement were able to respond quickly. Of course, that caused the suspect to flee, which is a good thing. Other people weren't hurt on that day. The suspect fled and I think was eventually captured in the Kittitas area. So perhaps it's not our heroes that wear headsets that are putting on the cuffs or out there in physical danger, but again and time again, they play such a critical role in a rapid response, an effective rapid response. And so I thank them again, and I will thank them again and again and again. So.
Any questions for Interim Director Yamamoto?
Madam Chair.
Yes, please.
Real quick, one of the things I think we don't really recognize as the mental stress on these people when they get it, because they aren't on scene. So they are not saying anything. All they're doing is providing the information and stuff like that, and they're not in that. And I think sometimes that puts even more mental stress on a person in that situation. I appreciate the heroes with headsets because it shows that we do recognize what they're doing for the community and for South Sound 911. So thank you,
Mr. Vice Chair.
Any other questions? All right, thank you. So support services, no, I apologize. Operations and facility update. Deputy Director Mears. Morning.
Morning, board. Good morning, chairs. As we wrap up this summer, things are moving forward really well for us. As far as training, our latest academy class is in their second week. It's going well. Not resting on our laurels. We've moved forward with review for the next applicants. We have about 50 applicants. We've got to narrow down to somewhere between 8 and 12. So that's going well. As far as facilities, no work at the PSCC here, but 35th Street continues to move forward. This week, we've got actually the data cabling and everything being laid into the floor. We're still having a review on some of the electrical pieces related to the floor. We've had a couple electrical groups come in, start doing evaluation on that so we can figure out what our path forward is with that. With this meeting today, we're hoping that you approve the HVAC contract so we can start moving forward with that. That's the last major piece of equipment and infrastructure for that building. And fire suppression starts on September 2nd, and casework looks like we will be moving the cabinets and everything in that week of September 2nd. So everything is moving forward, and we're looking forward to wrapping it up. So if there's any questions, I'll try and answer them.
Any questions? Sarah, do you have your?
Yeah, I do.
Okay, go ahead.
Okay. Thank you for the update on the counselors for 988. So I have a friend who does 988 here and she goes to my synagogue. And when I asked her how her job is, how does she like working here? And she said she likes working here. It's really hard when she gets phone calls and she really can't get the person services. And it would be really great as a city to know and to the county to know what services are missing that we're not able to provide to the community. And I don't know who could maybe provide us that, but getting feedback from the council, the people who do 988 would be really helpful for our community to understand where the holes are from someone who does the actual emergency, like get the calls in. I just think like that must be so frustrating for her to have the same like simple things. Like one of them is you can't get a shower place because they have to walk 3 miles because they don't have a bus pass. Things like that maybe we could find a way as a community to serve that so they could get to the place in time to get a shower. I mean, these sound like silly things, but these are what make people like get on the edge, right? And want to call for help. And so knowing that there's these gaps would be great to get back to some of us here so that we can take them back to our community and try to find solutions for that.
So I think we can explore that and take a look at what we can do to support that. We've got we have a really great partnership between the COM group and the 988 group, and they talk constantly. So let me touch base with Diana.
Really appreciate. I think it's just getting information to us, just like letting us know, like these are the holes that we're hearing about from our 988, callers.
So let me get with Diana and we can have some conversation about that, and I'll see if I can't bring something back this next month. And
I appreciate that so much. Thank you.
Okay.
Any other questions? All right, thank you, Margaret. Support Services Update, Deputy Director Hamel. Good morning.
Good morning. Thank you, Chair. Good morning, Board. The report this morning for Support Services begins on page 54. Wanted to highlight a few of the activities with the Community Relations team and Community Relations Department. One of the things at the department level is responsibility for our agency website, and the Department of Justice, you may be aware, mandated compliance with the Web Content Accessibility Guidelines coming into effect next year. So we have a consultant that's helping to review our website, make some steps to improve the accessibility, provide a report and training on to assist us to further those efforts also once their initial work is done. Also want to highlight some of the recent activity. National Night Out occurred recently, so the Community Relations team was able to support 3 of the local events, which was great, and the one Puyallup event is coming up next week that's in a similar vein. So those are always great opportunities to interact with the community. And then a lot of the content in the report this month is a quarterly update of the survey responses. We continue to get high marks from our customers, both with customer agencies as well as with the public. High level of satisfaction and very positive comments coming in with some samples provided in the report for your review. And then pivoting to projects, the law enforcement records management system project is, of course, well underway. Motorola is on site this week providing training to our technical staff on configuration tools so that we'll be well versed and prepared to manage the system once the project is complete. We also have on the action items list this morning for your consideration a motion to engage in a professional services contract with Federal Engineering to support the CAD selection process for the next computer-aided dispatch system. And we had briefed out on that earlier in the year. We revised the scope of that proposal and are now bringing forward what is support for identifying, doing a needs assessment, doing market analysis work, and then supporting a request for information as well as vendor demonstrations to help SouthSend and our partner agencies select the next computer-aided dispatch system, which is, of course, a critical component of our work. And then lastly, we looked forward this morning to introducing Tristan Lauricella in his new role with South Sound as the Director of Technical Services. And he was not able to make this meeting, but still, we're glad to have him in the role. And that's my report.
Can I ask a question? So initially, the CAD, what was briefed out, it was going to be one. So I'm sorry, let me figure this out. So the company that is going to be doing the initial work, are they also a potential vendor for the whole project?
For which project?
The CAD. So on, let me look.
I think I'm tracking. So looking back, we sought proposals from 3 different consulting firms, and we had a multi-jurisdictional team get together and actually interview those consulting firms. What came from that process was it seemed apparent from just the interaction with all 3 of them that we may not need the level of support that we first anticipated. And so we had scoped it out in a way that was much more expensive than it may need to be. So we revised the scope to focus on just the selection piece. And we did that with one of the consulting firms that the group that did the interview process was comfortable with.
Okay, and so the additional work, but so I guess Federal Engineering is not in the running for the larger CAD project, or they are?
They are not a provider of
Okay.
a software platform. They're an organization that specializes in consulting to support people selecting from available vendors.
Okay, thank you. I had some recollection of the previous, so I'm not pulling out the details. So thank you for helping me with that.
Certainly.
Any questions from the board? All right, thank you. And the moment we've all been waiting for, Finance Director Kissel.
Good morning. My report begins on page 57 of your packet. At our meeting in July, the 2026 preliminary budget was presented to the Board of Directors and members of the PSCOC. Following the meeting, preliminary assessment notifications were emailed to all of our partner agencies based on the budget that was presented at that meeting. So also at the meeting, the board requested that the Finance Committee review other options to lower the communications assessment, which we talked about previously. These options were also presented to the PSCOC. And as you heard earlier in that report, they are recommending a decrease of, or an operational offset of 3 million. So increasing from 2.5 million, which was presented in the preliminary, to 3 million. So the additional 500,000 we're proposing is coming from the Capital Reserve Fund. So that lowers that balance to a minimum of 7.2 million at the end of 2026. And right now that's an adequate balance to fund our existing projects. The 2026 budget resolution is on today's agenda for final approval. Aside from the increase in the offset for allocations, there have been no other changes to what was presented at the study session. A summary has also been provided in the report, but I wanted to take this opportunity to highlight just a few items. Our tax revenues in the 2026 budget are conservative estimates. Our emergency communication sales tax projects a 1% decrease for a total of 23.6 million, and 911 excise tax projects an increase of 1%, which will generate 9.4 million. Allocation revenues for law enforcement support services have an overall decrease of 6.5%, which is attributed to the RMS replacement project being fully funded in 2025. So the increase in overall operating expenditures from 2025 to 2026 is about 4.8%. And the budget also includes the addition of 4 FTEs. So one is an additional CAD administrator. This came as a direct request from the Pierce County Fire Chiefs Association. 2 facilities maintenance FTEs to replace a portion of the contracted janitorial services that we have here at the PSCC. And then an additional FTE to support the agency's disclosure unit. In addition, the budget allocates 4.1 million to fund the debt service for bonds issued by Pierce County for our facilities. And then it also includes capital project funding of 1.25 million for the RMS replacement. This is the final leg of that project, and that's all being funded from our 2024 excess fund balance, which is why we didn't have a increase there this year for that piece. 2.3 million for year one of the CAD replacement project. As you know, the federal engineering contract is the professional services contract to support that project, which is anticipated to begin next year. And then $3 million for replacement of the 911 phone system. This is actually a $4 million project, which has $1 million in funding this year in 2025 for that project. So, the projected ending fund balance in 2026 is $28 million, of which 21.2 million is held in our reserve funds. The remaining balance is held in the general and 911 program office funds. So very financially sustainable budget at this point right now. So, and that includes my overview. So if there are any questions, happy to address them.
Madam Chair.
Sure.
Janet, I hate to do this to you because I usually don't get it in the minutia, but you piqued my interest by saying that we're going to increase by 3 FTEs and 2 of them will be there because of 4, excuse me.
4.
But 2 of them are because of custodial service reduction. Can you explain that? So we're getting at the janitors and we're able to hire.
So right now we don't have any custodial FTEs. So we use contracted services for that.
That's what I was asking.
There's been some concerns with the contracts and the level of services we're getting from them. So the proposed budget includes 2 FTEs, and then we'll have an offset in our contract to support that.
Let me be a little bit more frank. Some of the contract custodians that we've had have been taking naps for like 6 or 8 hours in the parking lot. So we
That's
thought
right.
it's a better idea just to hire them inside and actually manage them.
And so these FTEs are going to be the custodial service within South Sound 911.
Yeah. So we're just
Okay.
literally ending the contract and then hiring people.
Yeah, and I'm good with that, but usually when I hear FTEs, I'm thinking console people and stuff like that, and that's not what this is. This is actual custodial people that we're
Yep.
going to hire.
Yes.
That makes it a little bit more simple. Thank you.
Okay.
All these millions of dollars, and I'm worried about two FTEs. Thank you.
For Branstetter?
Those new FTEs, which labor representation will they have?
They would be non-represented. So our facilities department is non-represented at this time. So we currently have 2 FTEs, a facilities maintenance lead that do all of the repairs and maintenance of this building, but we contract for all janitorial. So this is adding janitorial services.
Okay, but it's not going to create any new positions that are subject to labor agreements unless the employees initiate some sort of action to cause that to happen.
Correct.
Okay, and what's the recruitment time frame for this? Is this something that we're going to phase the contracts out at the end of 2025 and hire the people to begin in 2026, or?
We'll begin those discussions as soon as the budget's adopted and those FTEs are approved. Yeah. So we should have more information
Thank you.
at the next meeting.
Any other questions? So Janet, I just have a couple. One, just to clarify for everyone, that the fire position is being paid for by fire. It is not, correct?
Yes, but it's not a fire specific position. We have 3 CAD administrators. And so the allocation formula, because, and I may have Scott jump in to help me with this because we really reviewed this. What we're finding is the labor side of the CAD department is more extensive, so more heavily used by fire than it is by law enforcement. So the changes that are needed that the CAD administration needs to make to support fire are more in-depth than what's needed for law enforcement. But the overall CAD system, so another thing on the agenda today was the, excuse me, the annual maintenance with Hexagon, which is our CAD provider, so of almost $900,000. So the law enforcement is a bigger component of that. So we've separated kind of the labor piece and that and allocated it based on how much fire is using the CAD administration team versus law enforcement. And then the system itself is allocated differently. So to answer your question, yes, but we don't have a dedicated FTE just for fire.
Okay, so the request was made by them, and that, I just wanted to clarify because we have things that, just like Peregrine, you know, that law enforcement was requesting and
Right.
was not approved, so make sure,
Right.
make sure we're consistent with those.
Yes, absolutely.
things.
That's our goal.
And then on the 3 million, I think that that's great, but is that, normally we do 1 million offset on the cost allocations. So is that a sustainable thing? Is it, do you anticipate when you're projecting out that we could?
You know, there's just so many unknowns. We just don't know what our tax revenue is going to generate, what kind of other cost savings we may have. It is a large offset. We haven't done something that large in the past. So when we send out the allocation notifications, that will be apparent. So here's what your allocation dollars is. Here's what an offset that was approved this year. So all of our agencies understand that the allocation is a different number and the offset is just this one time right now.
That was what I was getting at, is just to make sure that we are not, people understand that it doesn't necessarily mean we're able to do that every year.
Yes, absolutely.
If we have the funds available this year, great, but
Yes.
not necessarily ongoing. Okay. Board Member Rumba, Board Member Mello, sorry.
Thank you, Chair. Since others are asking questions now about the budget, since that's where our heads are at the moment, thank you for hearing the request to find more ways to bring down the allocation and bringing forward an option for consideration this morning. I appreciate you hearing that request clearly last month. I'm looking at Exhibit B as in boy, and I and my team will certainly dig into this more over the coming months to really understand how this model works. We admittedly need more time. I'm not asking us to hold up our budget, but there's parts of this that we don't completely yet completely understand, to be honest with you.
Of course.
For example, when I look at Exhibit B, you know, Pierce County's total allocation is $6.8 million. And our change is minus 1.9. Others are receiving a significantly higher reduction. Can you help explain, at least in high terms for today, why an agency like Pierce County that contributes, we're the highest contributor, and we're receiving the lowest delta downward, and others are experiencing a much higher reduction?
Yeah, it's of course. And so one of the issues that occurred this year with specifically with RMS. So the RMS column, if you look at that, every single solitary law enforcement agency uses that piece. So they have been contributing over the last 3 to 4 years on the capital replacement piece. So that chunk of allocation went away this year. So they had most of those agencies had large decreases. So if you look at example for City of Bonnie Lake, their change was substantial. It was a minus 30% from 25 to 26. That's specifically because of that capital being fully funded now. So, but Pierce County is a full service agency, so they also use us for records, for permitting, for warrant services. Those all had regular operational increases in the year, which is the reason why there's such a variance from one entity to the other.
Thanks for explaining that.
Yeah, does that make sense?
We'll have more questions for the future, but thank you.
Yep.
Okay, and anybody else?
Thank you.
Thank you, Janet. At this point, it's chair comments, and I do not have any. I'll spare. Well, I know that people have it somewhere to be. So we'll move on to action items. Action item 1, will the clerk please? I'm sorry, what? Oh, I thought you were talking to me. Will the clerk please read item 1?
Action item number 1 is Resolution 2025-02, adoption of the 2026 budget.
Do we have a motion?
Madam Chair, so moved.
Second.
Did I hear second?
Second.
Oh, thank you, Joe. Okay. It's been moved and seconded that resolution 2025-02 be adopted. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Congratulations, Janet, wherever she went. Budget is adopted. Okay, and action item 2?
Chair, were you going to read the resolution?
I can. I get page 59.
Page 61.
Okay. A resolution of the Board of Directors at South Sound 911, a public authority, adopting the 2026 budget. Whereas the Board of Directors of South Sound 911 has the responsibility to adapt an annual budget for the agency, and whereas the South Sound 911 Finance Committee recommended a budget to cover all expenditures for administration and operations of the agency, and whereas the 2026 budget includes the addition of a capital projects fund for computer-aided dispatch CAD replacement, and whereas the Board of Directors has reviewed the recommendation provided for public testimony in an open meeting and deliberated concerning the 2026 budget for South Sound 911. Now therefore be it resolved that the Board of Directors of South Sound 911 does hereby adopt the following resolution. The 2026 budget for South Sound 911 in the form attached hereto as Exhibit A is hereby adopted by the Board of Directors as the official agency budget for calendar year 2026. The required financial participation for each contract agency is set forth in Exhibit B. The Executive Director is authorized and directed to make available the South Sound 911 2026 budget to all stakeholder agencies. The resolution shall take effect and will be in full force from and after its passage. Adopted by the Board of Directors of South Sound 911 at an open public meeting, Pierce County, Washington, dated and signed this 20th day of August, 2025. Okay.
And item number 2 is Resolution 2025-03, Records Index.
Do we have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Do I need to read this one?
Bransoner's got a question too.
Yes.
Would you like some background? It's a lengthy read.
Thank you. So this resolution is regarding a records index under the Public Records Act. And each agency you might be aware of has from time to time reviewed whether or not an index is possible. When the Public Records Act was passed in the early 1970s, perhaps it was possible. It was contemplated by our state legislature. In 2025, though, the amount of records we have, staff is recommending that South Sound 911 exempt itself from having an index of records because we can perform effective, accurate searches for records requested.
Board Member Branstetter. Mike, can you turn your mic on?
The green light's on console.
Okay.
Okay. That'll report. But it's indicated that there was a requirement then 1970 to maintain an index. We are at what time? That means that heretofore we've been maintaining the index.
No, the predecessor agency, Lisa, had passed a similar type of exemption saying we don't want to prepare an index. And since we are a new agency and we want to update it and make sure that's the current perspective and policy of South Sound 911, we want to update it. But there was an older version, and there might even be two older versions. And I would say this, in my experience, nearly every agency in the modern era does not index any longer. We don't operate out of cardboard boxes with, papers and folders. It's all nearly all digital, and modern search is just much more effective than trying to establish an index ahead of time. If we prepared indexes, we'd have to put in a tremendous amount of labor and expense just to prepare the index, and then it would have to be constantly updated. So you can tell from a 1970s perspective that might have been something that was a good idea, but it is no longer in the modern era. Yeah, if like I said, if the board decided not to waive the indexing requirement, like I said, then we would have to employ quite a few FTEs to go through every single record, establish a baseline index, and then from now until forever, we would have to maintain and update that index on a regular basis. And that's just a lot of people to do that.
Just by doing it, we have to start funds.
Correct.
One concern about the resolution is in section 2 in the order, it says it is hereby ordered that South Sound 911 may dispense with a records index for the reasons set forth here. Why is the term may not so? I mean, may means the will and maybe won't, whereas will is much more definite.
Thank you for the question, board member. So we can certainly make that change. Section 1 does make it mandatory. We are electing not to maintain the index. So section 2 is just a buttress to section 1. However, we can make that change should you request it.
Good. Here, I would move to replace the word may with the word will.
There a second?
Second.
Board Member Rumbaugh?
It's okay. I just think that it's a legal thing and it's not a big deal to have the word may. I don't know why. I mean, I trust our legal counsel to have the word may, so I don't know why we need to change this. But if everybody else wants to vote for that, I'm just gonna vote against it.
Madam Chair.
Yes.
Just to clarify, in contracts that I've done, there's may and should and will and shall. And this may lets people have some leeway around there where we don't want to have any leeway. We want to make sure that this shall be done. And I think that's why board member Ransitter is bringing it up. So that's why I agreed with him, but we'll vote.
Any other comments? And to confirm legal, you're okay with this change?
Correct. Thank you, Chair Dorr. I would also just offer for context, perhaps in some day with technology advancing, an index would be possible, which is why that may is also there. So we're electing not to maintain, but sort of reserving should artificial intelligence, right? We have all these different developments with technology. However, right now, it's unduly burdensome, which is the reason for this recommendation. But I defer to the motion, and it is legally sound.
Thank you. All right, all those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Nay?
Nay.
Nay. Motion carries. Right. Okay, clerk, can you please read action item 3?
Action item number 3 is motion 2025-30 to authorize the executive director to enter into professional services contract with Federal Engineering Incorporated in an amount not to exceed. Sure.
The motion that occurred was a motion to amend the resolution to change the word from may to will, and now there needs to be a motion to pass the resolution as amended.
Okay.
And I'd like to call that we do a voice, like everybody vote separate.
Okay, so do we have a motion to pass it as amended?
So move.
Second.
All right,
Roll
thank you.
call. Is that what you want, Sarah? Roll call.
Yep. Okay, so all those in favor signify by saying aye. I'm going to do roll
Aye.
call. I understand. I was going to do roll call after we make sure that it passes.
No. No. That.
This is a new motion.
that's
Okay,
fine.
I don't care. Roll call. That's not.
Yeah.
Go ahead and do a roll call.
Sure. Board Member Branstetter,
Aye.
Board Member Bushnell.
Aye.
Let's see, we lost Board Member Herrera or alternate Herrera. So Board Member Holm. Board Member Hubler.
Aye.
Board Member Hulsey. Board Member Mello.
Aye.
Board Member Rumbaugh.
Nay.
Vice Chair McGilligan.
Aye.
And Chair Dorr.
Nay. Okay, now moving on to item number 3.
Action item number 3 is motion 2025-30 to authorize the executive director to enter into a professional services contract with Federal Engineering Incorporated in an amount not to exceed $105,000 plus any applicable taxes.
Do we have a motion?
Sure, so move.
Second.
Any discussion? Okay, all those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed? Motion carries. Action item 4.
Action item number 4, motion 2025-31 to authorize approval of the ACCO contract for upgrade of 3 computer room air conditioning cooling units in an amount not to exceed $387,500 plus any applicable taxes.
Second.
Any discussion? Okay, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed? Motion carries. Anyone?
And action item number 5, motion 2025-32 to authorize approval of the ACCO contract for replacement of HVAC equipment in an amount not to exceed $86,730 plus any applicable sales tax.
Here, so moved.
Second.
Any discussion? Okay, moved and seconded. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Okay, so we're gonna have a 5-minute recess to clear the room. We are going into executive session to evaluate the qualifications of an applicant for public employment per RCW 42.30.1101G. We're gonna start with 10 minutes and action is expected. So we will resume at 10:05. So we're getting a 6-minute break.
All right.
Chair, what time will the exec session end?
10:15.
Thank you.
I can add by 10. Not doing much else right today, but. All right, so we are back in regular session. And at this point, I would like, I'm not sure what the board's preference is. Would the board want to state their choice? Or do you just want to make a motion? Go ahead.
I'd like to do number 2, but I'm going to do number 1. I move to direct the staff to prepare a resolution appointing Executive Director of South Sound 911 and present the resolution to the board.
Second.
Kendra, there was a name that needed to be filled in there, correct?
Yes, thank you, Vice Chair and Chair. Vice Chair, may you revise your motion? Can you direct us as
The
to the
official name?
candidate's name? Mhm.
So can I do number 2 instead?
You may, should you wish to do so.
Okay, so the motion is I move to approve resolution 2025 -04, appointing Kevin Yamamoto as the Executive Director to the South Sound 911 Board.
Second.
Position.
Second.
Any discussion? Board Member Branstetter?
I guess I'm a little unclear that is there a motion 2025-04 that exists? Or did we skip that part?
Do we need to have the resolution in front of us with the name?
If the board would like a resolution, the staff can prepare and pass it out. We have a template resolution as we've used the 2022 or 2020 resolution appointing an executive director. You've supplied the name, the motion has been seconded. So we can prepare that and send it around to the board if you would like
So the
that.
motion is in order, as is. Correct?
As to parliamentary procedure, yes, the
Thank you.
motion is in order.
The motion is yes. And so, Kendra, can you please address the preference? Your preference was for motion number 1, correct?
So I drafted a variety of different motions. It's the board's meeting. The motion that's before you is to approve resolution 2025 to -04. So at this time, if we could, staff would like just a minute to take a break. I can fill in that resolution and pass it to the board if you'd like it in front of you.
And would you like, so then you want, okay. All right, so we will take a 1-minute recess to fill in the name.
Thank you, Chair. Yes.
So Madam Chair, can I ask a diversionary question? So has anybody ever seen that old television series, Hogan's Heroes? And if ever anybody remembers the sergeant in there, Sergeant Schultz, who always says, "I know nothing." That is how I am right now. I know nothing. I'm going to get a clip. I'll show you. It exists. It really exists.
All right, thank you. Resolution 2025-04 is before the board. There has been a motion and second. Any discussion?
Madam Chair?
Yes.
By making the motion, this is long overdue for us to get an executive of this quality on this board. We've had 2 already. One had to organize the organization. The second one had to get the ship moving in the right direction. And now we move. This is the time where we have a lot of background. The person that we're putting in that position was here when the board was, when the initiative was first put to the public, has been with public entities, understands what we're trying to do, understands labor groups, understands how to deal with 11 different elected officials and be able to come to an agreement to where we need to move forward. So with the search project and the work group that was involved, I can't thank the work group enough for getting to the point that we're at now, and also the person that's going to be filling this position. So at that time, congratulations, Mr. Yamamoto.
Board Member Branstetter?
Yes, I'm certainly supportive of the motion. I'm going to vote to do that. And I just want to clarify that this motion would then be a precursor to at our next regular meeting, there being a contract that would have to be approved, negotiated to be able to go and do that. Unless the appointed director plans to do so as a volunteer.
Good. So I'm assuming that means you're acquiescing to his comments. Executive Mello.
Well, thank you, Chair Dorr. It's a really important moment for the board and for the agency, and I certainly will be supporting the resolution. I too want to thank Chair Dorr for leading a very thoughtful process, a nationwide search. The agency deserved to look nationwide for its next leader for such a critical role for really essential public safety services. So, when Mr. Yamamoto joined us earlier this year, he joined us under a very different pretense and function. I've had the great fortune of working with Mr. Yamamoto in many different capacities, and was very pleasantly surprised that he was willing to join the agency. And I think others are really seeing his skill. And I think he's going to be exceptional here leading South Sound 911. I think that in part, not only does he know how to work with a diverse federated board like ours and support a governing board, but he knows how to coach, lead, supervise staff, align to the direction given to him, and really respect staff and help staff show up to be their best selves every day and truly respect them and support them to do their best work and appreciate them. And he's already demonstrated that he knows how to do that and has good ideas to continue to do that. So serendipitously, this is a great moment for the agency, and grateful that Mr. Yamamoto wants to serve in this way. We have a lot of hard work to do to continue to provide these essential services to the people of Pierce County. And again, I want to thank my colleagues on the board who spent much more time than I did to participate with our executive director search consultant to make sure that the board was being thoughtful and judicious to make this very important decisions. Thank you, Chair Dorr.
Board Member Rumbaugh.
Thank you, Chair. And I too want to echo a lot of the things that our executive just said, that, Kevin has brought executive director Yamamoto has brought a lot of really incredible skill set to this job and to this organization. And just in the short period of time that he has been here, I have been amazed with his organizational ability to kind of look at what's going on here and finding ways to help things run better. And I just think that is a special skill. And that's why when I say it's like a unicorn position, I really think more it's just outside of what the typical job is. But I also think that the past experience you've had makes you well suited for this. And it's funny how you get here, right? Like with your legal experience and then being a city manager. I just think you have the tools to move us forward in the right direction from this point. And I really appreciate what Debbie did for the organization as well. And I think that I'm glad it took the time it took to find you, but I think you were always here, and I had no idea the skill set you had until you showed up, and you were so quiet at first, and then all of a sudden, I'm really impressed with how you were moving us, and I look forward to working with you in the next, if I get elected again, in the next 4 years. Thank you.
Board Member Bushnell?
Thank you, Chair. I just, not to belabor the point, I just really appreciate all the work that the search committee put through, Karis Consulting, HR, everybody. Also want to appreciate all the applicants that put their names forward for such a unicorn position. But I'm very, very, very pleased and impressed with your resume, your ability to compete and really outshine. And you really have great ideas, great acumen operationally, internally, externally, stakeholders. And I'm really looking forward to your leadership here. I'm really looking forward to moving the agency in a positive direction forward, building upon the great leaders we've had recently as well. And I'm really looking forward to supporting this resolution. Thank you.
Board Member Holsky?
Yeah, I had interaction with Kevin back in 167 Executive Committee, and I was really impressed when he got here and hit the ground running, and the accomplishments that have been done since he got here. So it was an easy pick. Thanks.
All right, any other comments? Okay, we have a motion before the board. All those in favor of appointing Kevin Yamamoto as the Executive Director of South Sound 911, please indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Congratulations.
So Madam Chair, does he still hold the title of interim counsel, interim CAO, interim?
Exactly. He's got the alphabet. No, we would like to get rid of all the alphabet soup after the name. Okay, and next motion.
Madam Chair, the motion I have is I move to authorize the chair of the South Sound 911 Board and his or her designee to negotiate an employment contract with the executive director and to present such employment contract to the board at the next regular board meeting. If I get a second, I'll expound on what I'm putting forward. Okay, so with that said, there was always talk about having the consultant group Karis come in and help mold a contract for the executive director. We've already done 2 contracts already for 2 executive directors. The boilerplate language is there. We have people such as the chair who was here before that negotiated with the previous executive director, plus Matt Holm, who is also has history of negotiating the contract with the former one. So I don't want to bring in somebody that wants to start from step 1 and try and move forward, because everything's in play. We already asked Karis for what the salary range was for the executive director. That is done. The benefit package is pretty much there, and we can move forward as soon as possible and get this thing settled before the next meeting, which we will then vote on at that time. And I think keeping it within the board works for us best, because I don't think we needed an outside consulting group to try and tell us what we already know from being here on this board for as many years as we had. And if necessary and the chair is too busy, she can appoint somebody else if she wants to have them negotiate. But I don't believe it's going to take that long to sit down with the new executive director and pound out a contract, due to the fact that we have Karis that's already set the basic salary range from the first setup. So, and there was talk that Karis was hired to negotiate with the executive director. The only thing I found was there was an amendment to the contract to have Karis help us negotiate the chief administrative officer, which is no longer on the books. So we don't need to spend the time to have Karis come in and work on this contract. I think the expertise is sitting around this table right now. So, and that is my motion.
Any further discussion?
Madam Chair, I do have a question. And Board Member McElligott did make a point that I'm not clear on. Did the contract actually include Karis to do that as well? Or is this an additional charge that we would incur if we had them come in and negotiate the contract?
It has the option, and that was one of the reasons that they were selected, is that they would do the full.
Okay, but did we ever
The
get it?
contract is not, we would have to enter into another contract.
Okay, then I concur then with Board Member McElligott that I think that in-house here, yourself and someone else, or whoever you decide, if you didn't want to do it, I think we could do that in-house, but I'd like to hear discussion from the rest of the board.
Board Member Miller?
Thank you. I guess I'd like to hear from the board chair if you're willing. My understanding is we would be authorizing you to authorize a contract on the board's behalf and bring back the contract to the next board meeting for the full board's consideration. So if we are asking you to do that on our behalf, I would ask what support you think you need to do that what support you need to do that. And I'm inclined to make sure that you feel fully supported to do that.
So it is my preference that we do the process that was outlined and we use Karis. I've been very clear with this board that I have a previous history with Executive Director Yamamoto. So I think that brings a level of trust and transparency to this process, that there is an outside person. I think that there's going to be a negotiation process. They are going to understand whether or not the requests that are being made meet the market out there. So I will vote against the motion. My recommendation is that we continue to use Karis.
So if I could continue, Madam Chair, I don't have the motion in front of me, and I'm a bit of a visual learner, so I apologize. Could legal counsel maybe restate the motion that you understand is on the table for us?
Absolutely. The motion on the table is to authorize the chair of the South Sound 911 board and his or her designee to negotiate an employment contract with the executive director.
Thank you. So could it be interpreted that the chair's designee is a consultant, Karis Consulting?
No.
Yes, I think that's a fair interpretation of the motion that's on the table. It's his or her designee, and the chair would be authorized to designate that person to assist on the negotiation.
So with that understanding, I'm going to defer to the chair. If the motion can be interpreted as the chair has the authority to get the consulting services, such as Karis Consulting, who's been our consultant to date on this, Chair, if the motion is interpreted as you have the authority to acquire additional consulting services, again, such as Karis Consulting, the executive search firm, I would ask if the agency, legal counsel and staff is interpreting it that way, you interpret it that way, wondering if you're comfortable with that.
I don't believe that's the intent of the motion, but if that is what the legal opinion of the motion is, I'm happy to do that.
Well, since it's my motion, I thought I was pretty clear it had to be another board person. And if the chair is saying she's got a conflict of interest due to her history with Mr. Yamamoto, she could step away and have people that are willing to negotiate this. Because the group that we have coming in has already stated the salary range. Everything else deals with Pierce County and what we have for our employees. Karis is out of Olympia. And personally, as I was trying to stay away from it, Karis had a timeline that we were given. And not one of these timelines was followed in this whole thing. And that in this, there is nothing in here about negotiating with the executive director. And the only thing that we have that has negotiations was the CAO. So I'm trying to keep it within this board because it's going to be our representative that's doing that. It should be our contract that we give to them, not somebody on the outside that all of a sudden proposes something or makes it even harder to get this contract dealt with.
I hear Madam Chair, I'll just finish my thought. I hear the perspective. I too will be respectfully voting no. I want to support the board chair, who I think we need to continue to entrust in taking this to the finish line on our behalf. So I'll be respectfully voting no. And if the motion fails, I believe there's another motion in order to advance this to make sure the board chair is properly supported to carry this to the finish line. Thank you.
Board Member Hubler.
If Karis negotiated this, what would the cost be?
Is Ryan here?
Under the CAO, I think was 225.
Yeah, they can't, I'm sorry, Ryan, they can't hear you.
I believe for the CIO contract, they had proposed $240 per hour for the hourly fee to negotiate that contract. I would imagine it would be somewhere around that as well.
And wasn't there a max anticipated for that work for the IC?
There was a max of about $2,000 anticipated for that. They didn't anticipate there was going to be a lot of hours needed for that contract negotiation.
Okay.
Maybe $2,000.
Any other comments or discussion? Oh, Carrie, I'm sorry.
If Karis negotiated, what would their timeline be? Would it be?
I think that would be a reasonable timeline. This is something they are familiar with and have done, which is why it was part of an option that we have within our agreement if we wanted to continue to have them help us with that. So I think bringing it back by next meeting would be a fair ask of them.
Thank you.
Yes, Madam Chair. It's my intent to also vote against the motion as it is currently worded. I would, I do understand Board Member McElligot's desire to maybe keep the negotiations within this body, because ultimately this body would have to approve whatever is negotiated. But I'm reluctant to vote for a motion putting a responsibility on someone who doesn't feel that it's appropriate that be done. I would be supportive of a motion if one were to be made following this one that would allow the chair to appoint a committee from this body to do the negotiating.
Thank you, Chair. And I too am going to vote against this motion. And I also want to say that I don't feel that Karis didn't do a good job. I thought that they did a good job. I was there when we interviewed the different people we were looking at to do this. And I think things come up and there's reasons that it got slowed down. And I was involved in the whole process and I thought we did a great job. And it takes about 6 months to hire a qualified person to take over an agency this size. So I don't think that that is unusual. I mean, we're going to be looking for a city manager and it takes a long time to find qualified candidates. So I don't think that that's strange. I also think I want to have a little bit of arm's length from this with having Karis look at it, because maybe we're going to miss something that we don't know is out there that we should have been negotiating. I remember when we did when we look at Debbie's, like where she went, the classification, we had an outside person do that. We didn't have somebody from inside our agency. I think that we should continue to see Southside 911 as one of the leaders in hiring and these positions. And you do that by not holing up in your agency. You do it by looking outside of you. We did that for the search and we found the best candidate happened to be here, which I knew was going to happen. It was going to be someone in our vicinity. And also, I think we will find out once we do have someone from the outside looking that we are going to have the best contract. I think it's important to negotiate, make sure that we have up-to-date contracts, and we should not be thinking just about ourselves. I think I appreciate your concern for your relationship that you've had in the past with the executive. I also believe that this could be done fairly. So if you feel like you need to have another person from the board be there to also be involved, besides Karis, let me know. I'd be interested. Thank you.
Any other comments? Okay, so I have no problem being objective or negotiating with Executive Director Yamamoto. My statement is I want this board to not have any concerns, and Karis also brings that there's somebody with the expertise. And as Sarah just mentioned, we did, when we were doing the salary analysis, we did not have that done internally. We had it done externally. There was somebody hired to do that work to make sure I'm not an HR specialist. we need to make sure that we have a fair competitive contract, and Karis can go out and see what the market is when something is proposed. So with that, we have a motion on the floor. All those in favor?
Madam Chair, I have just one more comment, just as, as it dwells. I want to make sure everybody understands it. Karis has already brought in a salary range for the executive director. So that portion has already been done. That's what I was saying. Within the contract that we got, Karis actually gave us a salary range for the executive director already. So that portion has already been done. And if that's the whole thing that we're looking at, I understand that the chair may not want to do it. She has personal and professional workings with Mr. Yamamoto, but on this same side of the coin, I hope it does not get delayed more than 30 days, and Ryan says it won't. So we'll trust her judgment if we have a different motion. But I just want to make sure that before I made this, I did some research to make sure where we are, where we need to be, and how the contract was structured for the first executive director, the second, and if everybody remembers, the second executive director's salary range was wrong after we did it. And we had to go back and bump her salary because the group that went out and did this salary range came back with a number because the former executive said, this is what you should pay this person. And so we took the advice of an outside consultant from Andrew and gave her less than what she should have been making at the time, and we had to adjust her salary. So there's all sorts of workings involved. I just want to make sure. I wanted to keep this inside because whatever this contract's going to be, this board is going to be held to that contract. And I always feel that if I have skin in the game, I'm going to be a lot more careful on what I put in a contract than listening to somebody on the outside that has nothing to do with Pierce County. They're paid to consult and to negotiate and move on. So thank you.
Madam Chair, I know everybody spoke. I think after knowing now what the dollar amount is or really isn't, because some of the factors are already taken care of, I don't really see a problem at all having Karis do that work, especially if it's within a timely fashion. And we still have the opportunity to come back and look at that contract and say yay or nay, or make, changes if we so desire. So I don't see an issue either.
Okay, so we have a motion on the floor. All those in favor of the motion, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay?
Nay.
Nay. Board Member Miller.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I move to authorize the Chair of the South Sound 911 Board and Karis Consulting to negotiate an employment contract with the Executive Director and to present such employment contract to the Board of Directors at the next regular Board of Directors meeting.
Second.
Any discussion? Okay, it's been moved and seconded. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Nay? Motion carries. Okay, at this time, we will adjourn. Thank you for that and look forward to working with you, Ryan. I will be in touch. Thanks.
Well, was that fun?